some sense of it all, but I can see it makes no sense at all. Is it cool to go to sleep on the floor? 'Cause I don't think that I can take anymore. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Sunday, June 22nd, 2025, and the Clarity Act is being ignored by Danielle Smith for the next referendum. And I find that interesting because she is... What's her game? I mean, honestly, I think that she is playing games. I think people are sick and tired of it, and people are calling her out on all of this. And sorry, I'm playing with the sound right now to get it right. I think I got it now. People are calling her out other than me. What's your game, Danielle Smith? And I think that's interesting. People are realizing that what they're being sold is not the outcome that they want. And they're trying to figure out why. What's going on? Why isn't Danielle Smith doing this in good faith? You were elected to represent Alberta in good faith, except that she was elected under the whole UCP, under the whole Canada system, and she's within that system. She can't go against it and figure out how to separate Alberta from Canada because her job is to keep Alberta in Canada. So she will use her position to play games and, oh, shucks, I didn't know, and so on and so forth, to keep things as they are, because that's easier than making any meaningful changes, I think. First Nations youth are starting a movement against C5, and I find that interesting. It feels coordinated to me, similar to how they set up the BLM protests, the Black Lives Matter thing, and then right now we're in the pro-Palestinian phase of that whole operation, and I think we're moving into a new phase because people are sick and tired of it, and they're going to do this one, and so that's what we're going to watch now, the birth of this whole thing. YouTube censorship overturned quickly by MP Aaron Gunn. That's interesting, right? A letter from an MP overturned censorship for a conservative videographer. Very interesting what's going on with the censorship in Canada. I think they're rolling out a new tool that is maybe more sophisticated so they can loosen the chains on some people because they can be more targeted and remove the parts of the video that they don't like maybe. Who knows? Who knows how sophisticated the AI is going to be. Pretty wild stuff. And so anyway, one MP, Aaron Gunn, intervenes and gets the guy's YouTube channel back. So good, but the government doesn't really work for us. And the big news, of course, who knew that John McCain's foreign policy would be reincarnated in Donald Trump, right? No name McCain. And now Donald Trump's bombing Iran? Really? Come on. And the Beach Boys song, we've got John McCain singing Barbara Ann in a few minutes. But first, so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. And we're going to start with Iran and Trump bombing Iran and the rest. But first, here's Keir Starmer being asked 2 days ago, after the G7, a couple of days ago, do you think Trump's going to bomb Iran? He says, no, absolutely. And I sat with him. I could see his personality because I was sitting next to him. Here we go.
It sounds like an American attack could be imminent. Do you know what's going on?
Well, I don't think you should read into that an American attack is imminent.
He's calling the Security Council together.
We had a 2-hour discussion with the President last night on the Middle East, on this very issue. And as a result of that, the G7 statement came out very clear about the risk of the nuclear program in Iran, Israel's right to self-defense, and the need to de-escalate across the region, including in Gaza.
So you don't think an attack is in his mind, or US joining Israel? You don't think that's in his mind? Well, the wording
of the G7 statement, I think, speaks for itself. And
the G7 statement was Iran must not have a nuclear bomb. That's all the G7 statement said. So that's a pivot from like, what do you think's happening? It speaks for itself. Okay.
Next to the president for that 2-hour discussion as we were working through not just the issues but the statement itself.
So you're not worried about escalation?
I'm clear that we need to de-escalate.
But are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation. I'm worried.
It sounds like an American.
So there you go. So this reporter saw it accurately and Keir Starmer did not. Here's John McCain from 18 years ago. Time flies. 8 years. I thought 8 years ago. That's not right. 18 years ago, John McCain talking about what Donald Trump did last night. Honestly. And I think that made him less popular. Here is Disclosed TV reporting Donald Trump's post on Truth Social says, we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Efishan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now is the time for peace. Oh, okay. Thomas says 6 MOPs reportedly dropped on Fordow. The plane relies on, or the bomb relies on mass, not firepower. 30,000 pounds of tungsten, delayed fuses, inertial guidance, and geological stress sequencing. But Fordow was built for this. Its design assumes MOP logic, curved tunnels, offset caverns, anti-penetration strata, layered redundancy across ventilation, C2 and IR6 centrifuge chambers. A single hit collapses nothing. To breach a tunnel mouth. To truly destroy the core, you'd need tight sequencing, vector convergence, telemetry confirmation, and real-time damage layering. That didn't happen. At best, they sealed an entrance. Iran reports no core disruption, no enrichment halt, and no internal collapse. To drop 6 MOPs means either 3 B-2s in simultaneous action or 2 conducting multiple flyovers deep in contested airspace without strike escort in one of the most monitored radar corridors on Earth. If Fordow was gone, you'd see craters, electromagnetic rupture, emergency airlift, seismographs lighting up, and IR flares beneath the mountain. Instead, we got a tweet from an account run out of northern Israel yelling, Fordow is gone, while hawking Gaza's most wanted trading cards. So there's some skepticism about the success of the mission. Tomahawks on Nantes and Efishan did nothing or add nothing. Cruise missiles are subsonic, not penetrative, and designed for surface level disruption. You don't decapitate nuclear infrastructure with block IVs. You flick switches, you scorch perimeters, you stage headlines. 1,000-pound warhead doesn't cut into fuel halls or disrupt cascade chambers beneath 20 meters of hardened casings. This was a signal to domestic media cycles in Tel Aviv's PSYOP operators. As of now, there is no SAR confirmation, no crater clustering, no multispectral flash analysis, no underground fire signatures, no BDA loop. If Fordow still spins tomorrow, Washington just pulled off the most expensive influence op in bunker busting history, only to watch Tehran climb the escalation ladder unscathed. So there's skepticism. And again, take it with a grain of salt. You've got the President of the United States saying, total success, this was wonderful, the boys are on their way home. And other people saying, I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical. I don't think that this was I was around for the Iraq War. I not necessarily bought the media, but in 2003, the media was all you really had. There wasn't really any other, there was a lot of other discussions going on. And it was pretty quickly obvious that Iraq was not what it seemed, because they were trying to sell it as, a weekend engagement. It'll pay for itself in a year, this whole thing is going to be very profitable for everyone involved. And, in addition, we'll show them for 9/11, et cetera, et cetera. And so there was a big anti-Iraq war push, certainly, but those people were marginalized just like anti-vaxxers were. So it's very interesting. I'm skeptical because I was around the first time they tried this, and it was basically the same play. This is going to be quick. We're going to do real targeted stuff. No boots on the ground. Okay, boots on the ground for a minute. And then 8 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, right? And then you get the Afghanistan withdrawal, which is a little bit different, but still, right? They do these things, they take these responsibilities, and then screw it all up. Ariel says the clickbaiting. So here's AIPCA tracker. This is Trump's tweet, and he's responding to all this. The strike was a targeted operation, not a war declaration. So people are upset. The AIPAC says Trump just bombed Iran without congressional approval. And Ariel is highlighting how this was allowed to happen because Trump has authorizations that he can use that aren't war declarations, they're something else. And so that's what we watched yesterday. The strike was a targeted operation, not a war declaration. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 allows 60 days of military action without congressional approval if the president certifies an imminent threat, which Trump did via classified memo to Congress. This federal law aims to limit the president's ability to commit the U.S. to armed conflict without congressional consent. It requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of introducing U.S. forces into hostilities and limits deployments to 60 days unless Congress authorizes continued action. Do you see the difference? Why would he need congressional approval for something he has yet to do in terms of deploying military troops? So they're saying Trump isn't declaring war. He isn't doing anything like that. This is a targeted strike. Do you think that this is just a targeted strike that will be left there? That's it. So here's 44 seconds of this. And this is kind of the meat of this, but we've got the longer speech too, and I want to show you something at the end because it plays into what Mike Benz is talking about and the Top Gun, the plot of Top Gun Maverick. Okay, Top Gun Maverick is this Fordo run, basically. That's essentially what's happened. But the whole plot of Top Gun is fulcrums on not American interests. Some Middle Eastern power that is aligned with American interests. So that's weird. So then you know who they're talking about, right? Ben says it directly on the nose. We'll get there in just a second. But I think that it's interesting. I don't want to spoil what I've got in the video here. So give me a minute. This is the meat and potatoes of the strike that Trump's talking about. So this is after the strike happened. He's addressing the American people in the world, telling us about what happened. And here's the short version. Here we go.
With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. All of that being said.
Okay, so Trump is talking about so much success. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, right? All that success breeds. Why don't we do another operation? We'll have another round of success. Okay, here is Trump introing, and there was something I wanted to point out in the beginning, but I'm going to forget what that is. So we'll just jump to the end here. This is Trump finishing this out, and it's interesting how he finishes this out with respect to the plot of Maverick and who the Middle Eastern country that the whole plot circles around, right? It's Israel. It's Israel. Here's Trump talking about God bless Israel. God bless the United States. Okay, here we go.
There's never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so that was one. I watched the whole thing and I thought, okay, God bless the Middle East, God bless Israel, and God bless America. Okay, all right, weird. And then here's Top Gun tie-in. So here's Fox News talking about this. Mike Benz saw this, and he says, I've been meaning to make a video on this exact freaky thing for an entire week, and asked why no one else was pointing out what's happened or happening is the exact plot of Top Gun Maverick. Hold up, I'm going to make the video right now. So I've got Benz's video, and we're going to watch just a little bit of it. But here's how this whole thing is Top Gun Maverick. Here we go. Just in just a minute. The Mike Benz does a 20-minute long video linked in the next clip. And it's so worth it. It's very, very worthwhile because he ties it all together with clips from the movie. But we're gonna watch at least one. Here's Top Gun Maverick's plot.
So what we're looking at here is we're being told this is, I think, anywhere from just shy of 200 to 300 feet in depth. There are all kind of reports out there of 1,000 foot, but I think that's more propaganda. So what you end up doing is if you saw the movie, the latest Top Gun movie, eerily enough, this is that plot kind of coming to fruition in real life. It's not just one bomb. It'll be a bomb after a bomb to get through that penetration.
And just lastly, that's what you're talking about. Can penetrate up to 200 feet below the surface. And then, of course, we'll see it try and put the second one in there and go down in there. Yeah. Let's bring in David Burke, our top.
I think it's weird. Like they're trying to take out a nuclear facility and they know the nuclear facility is buried, there's hardened casings, and they have rough estimates of how deep all of these things are, right? Don't you? Isn't it on Wikipedia? I'm not going to look because I'm live streaming right now, but isn't it on Wikipedia? Isn't there information about all of this, especially as it was the plot of Top Gun Maverick? So they know. And so they put up this 200-foot penetration thing and 2 bombs to get the penetration, just like in Top Gun Maverick. And it's very, very interesting. And then they bring in this Top Gun pilot guy and they want to talk to him, and like they say, oh, how realistic is this? And the fact that they're shocked about a movie that has a now real military counterpart, right? Oh man, what a coinky dink. I can't believe it, right? And then we watch videos about predictive programming, and holy cow, if you scroll through a lot of the movies in the 90s and think about what has happened since the 90s, it's scary. Okay, here's Mike Benz talking about how, that was going to be too fast, right? We dodged a bullet there, everybody. And here's Mike Benz talking about how the Top Gun plot is fulcrumed on Israel. Here we go.
Plot is to use bunker buster bombs using stealth bombers through the mountainous region of a Middle East country in order to blow up its nuclear plant. Here's what the final scene looks like at the climax of the film, for example. Now, something troubled me when this movie first came out, and I'm just going to play this scene. It's at the 19-minute mark of the movie where they're setting out the whole plot of why they're doing this operation.
The target is an unsanctioned uranium enrichment plant built in violation of a multilateral NATO treaty. The uranium produced there represents a direct threat to our allies in the region.
Now, when I first watched this on an airplane in 2022 as just something to do to kill time, I thought that was a very strange plot choice, because this whole operation to use bunker buster bombs and risk American lives to blow up a nuclear plant in the Middle East was because the nuclear plant represented a direct threat to our allies. Like, the military generals did not even say it was a threat to the United States. The operation was because the plant was a threat to our allies.
The uranium produced there represents a direct threat to our allies in the region.
So again, the plot of the movie is because the nuclear plant in the mountains of an undisclosed Middle East country represents a direct threat to our allies in the region. They don't say it's to the United States. I thought that was very, very strange to come at the 19-minute mark of a 2-hour movie as they're setting up the whole plot.
The uranium produced there represents a direct threat to our allies in the region. The Pentagon has tasked us with assembling a strike team and taking it out before it becomes fully operational.
So again, the plot...
Yeah. Okay. And he says, if Maverick died, they lose Maverick. And if Maverick died, he'd be dying for this unnamed ally in the region, right? And the target place is Iran, and the ally in the region is Israel. And he goes through this. And so, and it's a good breakdown. I watched it last night. I thought, yeah, pretty good breakdown. Very interesting, very concerning. Trump? What's going on, man? Huh. Weird. Here's Clandestine, keeping the hopium alive. He says Trump's overall message was that he hopes there will be no need for more military action and hopes Iran chooses to stand down. Trump does not have any desire for long-term or even short-term conflict. Pay no attention to the bombers sent to the Middle East. Trump has no desire for a forever war. Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because, I mean, here we are. Seems like more forever war. Post-millennial shares Donald Trump's Truth Social. Any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald Trump, President of the United States. So he's saying, hey, back off, get your own sandwich, right? Here's what Fordo looks like now. Here's Disclosed TV, which does not look anything like the end of Top Gun Maverick, if you ask me. It looks kind of like, really, bunker buster bombs were dropped there? Okay, you sure? Are you sure this is the same? Okay, it's the same place. All right. So it looks like a mountainous region that has maybe some discoloration right here. If you said to me, gun to my head, boom, you are gonna pass away if you don't give me the correct answer right now. Where did the bomb fall on here? I'd be like, this area maybe, but also maybe this area. But like, this area seems more central to the picture. So I would say maybe like around here-ish. And how big of a circle can I draw? Around here, right around here. That's where the bomb dropped. So it's, yeah, I don't know. Can you tell? Am I an idiot? I mean, it's quite possible, right? I mean, it looks like maybe something happened there, but it also looks like maybe the topography is just a little bit weird there and there's shadows and stuff. All right. Who knows? But I'm not confident I'd survive that exchange. Grace says Bannon is upset too. POTUS has to talk to MAGA. There are a lot of MAGAs that are not happy about this. I'm telling you, a lot of people who are Israel supporters are going to say, why are we doing the heavy lift here? Why are we engaging in combat operations in a war that's a war of choice? Hey, great question there, Steve Bannon. I'll let him kind of break it down a little bit because he's talking about it for a minute.
There are a lot of MAGA that's not happy about this. I'll just be blunt. We can tell this in the chats right now. I think John's trying to come in. John Solomon's trying to join us. There, the president's got to, make the address. I also think he's got to talk to MAGA. There are a lot of MAGA that's not happy about this. I'll just be blunt. We can tell this in the chats right now. There are a lot of the chats that are just saying, hey, I hear you, but, you promised you wouldn't do this. I hear your thing, and maybe they didn't negotiate. So I do think, as I said, I believe he will get MAGA on board, all of it, but he's got to explain exactly and go through this. And remember, I said today, the party is on, using that World War II phrase, who's going to host it? And early in the evening, we were hoping and working with people and saying, hey, maybe Israel is going to step up here. I think a big question is going to be why Israel did not take the lead and do this. Because right now, this is back to the United States. And I understand maybe we could get Fordo, but I think that's got to be explained. Israel did not finish what they started. That's the bottom line. And I'm telling you, a lot of people I know that are Israel supporters are going to say, why are we doing the heavy lift here? And why are we engaging in combat operations in a war that's a war of choice?
He just hasn't seen Top Gun Maverick is really the problem. That's why. That's why he's not sure. Election Wizard says CIA Director Ratcliffe and Director of National Security Tulsi Gabbard will brief the U.S. Senate on Iran on Tuesday. So there you go. So got a couple of days to wait. No problem. There's no urgency. What urgency, right? We bomb them. They know where we stand, right? Peace is coming right around the corner. Gareth says, ask yourself why David Lammy makes a point of stating that the United Kingdom did not participate in these strikes. Here's David Lammy saying, Iran must never have nuclear weapons. The U.S. has taken action to alleviate the threat that would pose to the global community. The UK did not participate in these strikes. So why is it important for him to say this? Why say this, says Gareth? Is this a message to Labour's Muslim bloc vote? I would say it is a message to the Muslim bloc vote. Is it a message to Iranians and Iranian sympathizers living among us thanks to government immigration policy? Possible. I would say very, very plausible. And here is what's going on in London. Protesters, this is being reported by, I don't know which outlet this is being reported by, but it says protesters march through London supporting Iran's supreme leader among thousands of demonstrators waving Palestinian and Iranian flags. People carried signs featuring the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So yeah, very interesting stuff going on there. Same happening in Canada with pro-Palestinian protests being supported by the government, and they can do whatever they want, but if your truckers carrying Canadian flags, that's a reason to declare the War Measures Act against you, right? So Alan says it's now left-wing to support regimes and dictators that execute citizens, kill gay men, and brutalize women. Whatever anyone's thoughts on Gaza and Israel, glorifying and taking sides with these anti-democratic, anti-freedom, anti-human despots is a disgrace. Yeah, sure. I want to underline, I don't support any foreign wars. I don't think we should be getting involved in any of this. This isn't our responsibility whatsoever. I don't think that we're being told the truth about Iran. I don't think we're being told the truth about Israel. I don't think we're being told the truth about anything, really. I don't think we have the clout or responsibility to impose what we want as the West or as Canada or as me, Mark, on other countries, right? We, as citizens of Canada, can't impose our will on our own government. We can't say, hey, we'd really like to have you leave us alone about this or that or whatever it is. We'd really like you to stop. We'd really like you to stop surveilling us, or we'd really like you to stop any of the crazy new things that have been happening over the past few years. We'd really like you to stop speech suppression on the internet, so on and so forth. but the government ignores us. We can't stop it. We'd really like you to stop sending money to Ukraine, right? We can't stop them, apparently, right? That's not part of the whole thing. We'd really like to pay for our own MRIs in a private public system that's a quasi improvement of our current hallway healthcare system. Oh, sorry, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Sorry. Right? So like, we don't have control of our own government, yet we have to pay taxes to send money to Ukraine for reasons. We have to pay money to send taxes to Iran or to Israel to bomb Iran. It doesn't make any sense. To fund foreign wars, it doesn't make any sense. And so I don't think we should be fighting these wars to bring, quote, Western style democracy or anything to other places, because holy hell, we can't control ourselves. Why would we use our military to bring this nightmare to other places? It doesn't make any sense at all. And so I don't support it. I don't think we should be doing it. I don't think Trump should be doing it. But at this point in time, we're on this ride, right? Like, and so I don't think that Kamala Harris was a viable option. I think if Kamala Harris was here, things would be worse, and by probably orders of magnitude. I don't like this, and so we'll have to see where this goes, because there's no other option. I don't think I want to see anybody impeach Trump and replace him with Vance or anybody else. But all of that said, I don't support any of this, right? So we'll see where it goes, I guess. But the fact that the West is on the hook for this war that Israel started is not great, right? And MAGA is probably going to punish Trump for that. And we'll see what happens next, because holy cow, something's going to happen next. And I don't know what it's going to be. We've got our grab bag of governance, and then we got a ton more other show as well. So Alberta Dad is responding to, yesterday we started the show talking about Bill C5, which basically gives the federal government power to invalidate the province, any laws that it wants, and to push its will on the provinces. And I think it's going to use it to push its climate change nonsense on the provinces, under the guise of, quote, building an energy superpower. We're going to build a solar superpower by importing solar panels from China, right? Like, it's nonsense. But I think that's what they're going to do. So here's Alberta Proud Dad, and he says, Bill C5 passed third reading. It gives Mark Carney's cabinet the power to declare any project a national interest, override provincial laws, bypass environmental reviews, and grant themselves legal immunity. No votes, no lawsuits, no accountability. This isn't growth, it's authoritarianism. Yeah, glad we recognize it, because that's exactly what's going on. And the reason that they're doing it is because they can get away with it. We're being distracted by protests that they control. The protests that they control, people wonder, how can these protests keep going for so long, day in and day out? They're funded through NGOs. These people, that's their job. That's what they do for a living. They're paid, and paid well, to do that. And so they do it, and they travel, and they disrupt, and they do what they're told. And these kind of protests aren't new. It goes, do you remember the rail blockades for First Nations way back when? 2019, 2018, 2017? Same MO, and they roll one into the other. So when the rail blockades died, the next one was Black Lives Matter, and it became alive as soon as the rail blockades died. And I think that probably there was no crossover, because the same people attended the BLM protests that were doing the rail blockades previously. No arrests, do you remember? And so it's the same thing. And here's the next evolution, because people are done with the Palestinian thing, and politicians are starting to catch up. So they change the face of it to stay ahead of the politicians and the laws, right? And so this is First Nations, where you can't, how are you going to block First Nations protesting, right? They can light things on fire and throw them on train tracks and not have arrests. So what else can they do without being arrested, right? CTV News is reporting First Nations youth say they're starting a movement against major project bills. So this is against C5, okay? And so we're being distracted. They're going to create a mess, and the government is going to be able to get away with this crap bill while we're distracted with these protests, and we don't look at what's actually going on because we're too distracted. So more fool us, because we're being taken for a ride. Aaron Gunn is responding to Grant Woods. Grant says, after my YouTube channel was terminated by YouTube without warning, it's been reinstated. An hour after my newly elected MP, Aaron Gunn, sent them a letter on my behalf. An interesting tale highlighting the arbitrary censorship and political corruption at YouTube. So yeah, well, I was censored as well. It happens. And we shouldn't allow it to happen. I can't believe that these corporations not only do this with impunity, but they do this at the behest of the government themselves. They know they're not going to get any punishment. If they got punishment, they'd say, well, the government told me to do this and they paid me to do this. So here's the receipt. The government said, can you censor these 5 accounts? We said, if you pay us millions of dollars, we'll censor those accounts. Here's the millions of dollars we got and the censored accounts. So bingo, bango, bongo, this is what happened. And it's pretty clear that this is what's going on. It's not a mystery, right? And so Aaron Gunn says, we appreciate the quick response from YouTube. It shouldn't take an MP getting involved to have free speech protected online, but this is a positive step. Is it? I don't know. Here's Ryan, and he says, is there someone who speaks into those earpieces they wear to tell them what to say? The guy looked panicked and put it on and then stammered his way through his lame talking point. Yeah, absolutely. They have they have a fixer, and they're probably on some kind of cell phone somewhere behind a computer looking things up, and they have talking points all brought up very, very quickly. I'm sure there's probably an index database to search keywords and bring up the talking points for whatever the question is, and then the person who's reading it on the computer is reading it to them, and then they say what they're told to say. Here's the exchange.
The honourable member for Leduc, Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, this week Canada hosted the G7, and one of the people on the Prime Minister's invitation list was the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia currently has a sweetheart deal with Canada, shipping over $2 billion worth of Saudi oil a year to our Canadian East Coast. Alberta oil shipped to the same place would face extremely onerous reporting requirements on upstream and downstream emissions, yet no such requirements exist for Saudi oil. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, we are going to support our conventional and renewable energy business by getting the One Canadian Canada Act passed. It will grow our conventional economy. It will grow our conventional energy business. It will grow our renewable business. We hope our colleagues across the aisle will get on board.
The honourable member.
Yeah, right? I don't know. Could go either way. Here is Dacey, and he's out, and he's very frustrated, rightly so. He goes out and he documents all of the mass protests that are going on that I was talking about, the daily in and out protests about pro-Palestinian or whatever the thing of the day is. And the police seem to be working for the protesters, and that's very strange. So Dacey Media says, masked terrorist supporting thug gets in my face and tries to intimidate me, and the Ottawa police officer threatens to remove me. I'm beyond frustrated at the blatant two-tier and selective policing going on in Ottawa. At the request of an OPS PLT, I was filming the entire day from well outside the body of the protest. I'm under no obligation to comply with that request, but I did it in the interest of improving relationships and attempting to move forward in good faith. The PLTs tried, but they have no authority over the police management of the protests. The officers involved in managing the protests are clearly under orders. Not a single one would engage with me except the one who briefly threatened me. You will also hear the PLT officer confirming this video that the protest does not have a permit, and none of them ever have permits. This is relevant because it means the police do have options to control or limit these, and they're choosing not to use them. I'm at a loss for what to do here. There is zero mainstream media coverage about these ongoing weekly protests. When I do try to cover it, I get attacked by protesters and often threatened by police. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. I won't be intimidated out of my own hometown streets. Something's got to give. Unfortunately, they'll use it as a justification to crack down further on online speech. Dacey again says, the officer said, are you going to move off, or are we going to have to make you move off? Ignoring the masked thug threatening the independent journalists. Yep. So the police are being used as tools to bolster these protests, but they're not really protests. It's terrorism, really. Dacey again, mass terrorist supporting thug gets in my face and tries to intimidate me, and the Ottawa police threatens to remove me. So I've already read that one. Pretty wild.